We're at the top of the hexagram. We have reached the 6th line in the 19th gate, and the 6th line is called the Recluse. Ra used to introduce this line by saying that one of the most extraordinary incarnation crosses in the wheel is called the cross of the 4 ways, which is comprised of course, 4 hexagrams that are each especially about a way. And because it's a right angle cross, they form a perfect cross within the zodiac, and we can see that played out within the wheel. The 19th hexagram that we have here is called approach, directly opposite the 33rd hexagram, which is called retreat. And then at exactly a quarter from that, so on the other plane, we have the 24th hexagram, the gate of return, and opposite that, the 44th hexagram coming to meet. These are the 4 ways of the world: approach, retreat, coming to meet, and return. So when you're dealing with the 19th gate, you are dealing with something very deep inside of you, because it is one of the ways. This way is a deep recognition for the need for resources, and there are all kinds of resources. When we get to the 6th line and we get to the transition, we know that all of our religious experiences begin in the 19th gate. We get to see the 19th gate is sitting up there in the 6th line, is sitting up there looking at the whole circuit. It knows this is the gate of animism, and yet it's also looking at the stream of sensitivity and the circuit of the tribe and the egoic circuit that is within that. But this is all about animal sacrifice. It is where ideals are built. This is that whole beginning of the process of sacrifice, really leading into the 49 from this 19:6. And its culmination is here in the Recluse. The 6th line of the Recluse is trying to see the whole process. It doesn't want to engage unless it has the kind of assurance that the whole process is possible. The whole process of the tribe is that the resources have to be enough for the tribe to flourish and grow and to develop a civilization. There needs to be a thriving community, a successful community where everybody has the resources that are necessary, and it all gets to manifest out of the throat. But it's not an easy business that starts down here in the 19th gate. There's a long way for it to go to get up to the throat, to the 45 or 3, yeah, always the 45 in the tribe, isn't it? It's the only throat gate we have in the tribe. In the lifetime learning, we find the avoidance of contact in general, but not exclusively. This is the 6th line saying, I don't want to be interdependent with you. I don't want to be dependent on you. I don't want you to be dependent on me, because I don't think any of this will be worthwhile. Why should I give up all this energy when I do not get the resources that I know are necessary? So if someone says, hey, why don't we establish a community? And the Recluse says, excuse me, I'm going away because I don't think it's going to be possible. I don't think you'll really have the resources you need to maintain this or to build a culture around it. The principles of the harmonic gate 49, the gate of revolution, are the principles that dictate the sharing of the resources. Who gets supported and who doesn't? And what the 19 learns, particularly through their 3rd line experience, because they're receptive in approach, they're receptive to the potential of the principles of the other, is that they see that the principles aren't necessarily correct or honest, because of course the principles are emotional. Who gets to actually eat the slaughtered sheep is decided by the 49, not the 19. The 19 just applies the pressure to make sure there are sheep in the first place, that there is pasture and that they are part of the community that supports that. But it's the principles of the 49 that dictate who and what gets sacrificed and who gets to benefit from what is sacrificed. But the 49 is emotional. Those who benefit one day might not make the grade the next day. The 19.6 says the 49 is not reliable and just goes up onto its hill, really waiting until the transition, until the change comes, so that there is a real mutation, because it knows that until then, the 49 is always going to go up and down, but the principles are going to change, and who gets what is very emotional. So the recluse goes up on the hill in the middle of the village, you know, it's separate and yet still part of the tribe, and it waits. And it knows that eventually the mutation is going to come around and it will hit through that 49 into the 19 and it will do its thing there. The exaltation says the fool on the hill, the sage that, if you can find them, will talk to you, the energy which generally fuels avoidance. These people used to be the kind of main spiritual figures in the world. These were the crazy ones, the ones who separated themselves, and yet at the same time, the tribe found them fascinating because they were actually a useful resource. And of course, the tribe loves a resource. The recluse is not the same as a hermit. A hermit is someone who people, well, they just know where the hermit is. But the recluse, or the sulking child that we'll see in the detriment, they could be anywhere. No, you have to look for them. And it is part of their way, the way of approach, to have proven to them that they are really needed. You know, we say, oh, I hear there's a master in the mountains somewhere, but I don't know where. That is their way of knowing that you really need them. Because if you go out looking for them and you put all that energy into finding them, you really want them. The sulking child does not simply go to its room. It goes out and it hides somewhere outside. Or if it's in its room, it's hiding under the bed or in a closet. And you have to really put some effort into finding them to prove that you need them. And what happens is these recluses, these sages, they eventually get sought out. The tribe wants access to what they have. The tribe is interested in their resources, in their wisdom. The tribe wants them to make a commitment, and so they will go and find them. And even when they're found, it can actually be really difficult to get a 19.6 to commit itself. In the detriment, we have the sulking child, the self-imposed exile that will only end when it attracts appropriate and soothing reaction. Oversensitivity to rejection that fuels avoidance. Of all the lines of the 19, this is the only line where it is totally in control. The 19, it needs to be wanted, but the 19.6 will not flirt, even though the lines 1 through to 5 will. The 19.6 generally has a fuel which says, avoid all that, don't get their attention. When somebody comes to the fool on the hill or to the sage or to the sulking child in its room, this shows them that they are actually needed. Oh, you climbed all this way up the mountain to see me. Or you finally came into my room to see why I'm so upset. Now, there's a great deal of power in this 19.6 by not bringing that classic, flirtatious energy of the 19. And remember, the projected field is sacrifice. You are supposed to be there to sacrifice. The 19.6 doesn't care about that. Come and find me if you really need me. It's like, if you think you're strong enough and you show me you really need me, maybe if you're lucky, if it's a nice day, maybe I'll offer you my energy, my support. So people climb that mountain and they get to the master. Master, what should I do? And the master says, turn around, go back down. I'm not in the mood. Or you finally go into the room of the sulking child and say, oh, what is it? What's wrong? And they say, go away, get out. Because it's not enough to be needed. The 6th line is always asking for something more. So the master on the hill will wait for the right question, the one that will prove that not only is it really going to be needed, but that need is legitimate. This is what our 6 lines wants. Where is the value in this? What is in it for me? Is this real? And if it can hear the legitimacy in that question, then it can support that. The sulking child has to feel the real need, not simply the tribe trying to discipline it so the child doesn't misbehave or so that it is forced to come back out into the community. It has to be a real need to resolve whatever it is that pushed the child into that situation to begin with. Within the whole 19th gate, so many things that have dominated our lives lie here. They're just held within the 19th gate. It's a core fuel, this need for food, the need for how we can share the food and how we can be interdependent in our process. All the fundamental rules for whether we will support each other or not, whether we will give up ourselves for the good of the tribe or not, the amount of service, the amount of sacrifice that is demanded by any tribal relationship, all of that is in the 19. And all of that carries a great deal of weight in the world. Ra said that it was really clear to him about the nature of the world, that unless you satisfy the 19 as a universal theme, that is, that it's satisfied everywhere, there will never be peace. The 19 must be satisfied. The resources must be there, and it must be fair. It must be clean, and it must be interdependent. It will take a long time for the emotional system to change so that we can break through the motor, and then we can begin to see the nature of community lies in its spirit. The spirit is the whole thing. There is such a pressure on all of us to support universal principles that protect everyone. It's the basis of spirituality. If everybody who came into the world came in living out their nature, there would be no need to be so vigilant about the nature of principles, about that support. But as things are, we do need that vigilance, because for every principle that you support, there is someone and or something being sacrificed. When the 19.6 gets to that point where that's clear, the movement leads us to the 13th gate, and it leads us to a change of the quarter. We move into the quarter of Alcyone, the quarter of initiation that begins with this 13th gate. And of course, it's a gate in the Sphinx direction gate. All of the quarters begin with a Sphinx gate. So this is a transition into a totally different realm. And at that point of being able to recognize what is worthy of support, that's when it can be codified for our experience. Codified by the 13, part of the channel of the witness, the prodigal. So the grounding is in gate 33 with the line 6 called disassociation, which definitely supports the energy of the recluse, because what else are they doing? The moon has been in gate 63 since 1759, and of course this is the second transit report of today, so we already looked at gate 63 and the moon there. At 3:24 it moves into gate 22, and this is our solar plexus gate of grace and openness. This is an individual gate. It's a manifest energy that can have quite an impact when it releases its energy. So it is essential that the 22 pays attention to its mood and only does things when it is in the right mood, not to please others, which can be really hard if this is in an open solar plexus. Actually, it can be quite hard even if it's in a defined solar plexus, but it's essential nonetheless. This is an acoustic gate. It hears in a wave. It doesn't hear everything at once. It doesn't necessarily hear it in a linear way. This is the energy that happens in gate 57, but here there will be a knowing over time of what has been heard. So that is line 6 for gate 19. Thank you very much for joining me. We are coming to the end of my journey around the wheel in terms of this. I mean, obviously, I'm not, hopefully, not falling off the wheel. Well, who knows? We never know, do we, when our time is done? But that's not what I'm suggesting here. I took this project on for a year. I have, I think, 7 more gates to go through before that year reaches its conclusion. And I have plans for carrying on interacting with you and hopefully supporting your journey through whatever level it is you decide to take this to. So lots of little things bubbling away behind the surface. Bear, of course, is being an incredible support to me. I have other friends who are chipping in and giving me their advice and little initiations here and there. So waiting to see what really comes of that. But there is something that we will transition into after I have finished my particular project here. And I truly hope that we can continue together and yeah, find a way of carrying on this association, because I've so loved it. It has really nourished me. It's been really hard work sometimes, and it's been a hell of a commitment, and it's been extraordinary. I've just loved it. So when things are a little bit more settled in what it is that I am going to offer moving forward, I will let you know. I will let you know here on my YouTube channel and within the Facebook community of people who follow this channel. And yeah, so it's a kind of watch this space thing, sort of telling you something and not telling you anything, but I'm not telling you, I'm not telling you anything in order to keep you hanging. I just don't quite know yet. Okay, so I am yeah, moving forward into gate 13 and a new quarter, a new adventure, and I will see you tomorrow for a first line, for an overview and a first line. Until then, go gently, love yourselves wildly as always, and drink more tea. Lots of love. Bye bye.